guys, here it is. I am bringing you what I promised, the review for the 1978 Superman movie. Alright, now this one's going to be just pure, straight, and simple. I mean, there's not really a whole lot here. There's really not even a lot to really just break down. I mean, well, there kind of is, but there kind of isn't. We have a movie brought to you by Richard Donner. He's basically coming in, taking the reins on this, and saying, hey, look, I'm going to give you the Superman movie that, not the one you wanted, but the one that you deserve. And he did a really good job with it. I gotta say that right from the start. I mean, there's no mistaking it. The man comes in, he gives you the story, he gives you the backstory, the setup. This is actually the progenitor to what we know, of a superhero movie. It's the origin story, is the epitome of the origin story. And that can actually work to the film's benefit or its detriment. Because with these types of movies, with these origin stories, one of the things that always happens, it never fails, you kind of fall out of the movie a little bit because there's so much story. And they wrap it up relatively quick, but this movie doesn't have as much Superman in it as some of the later movies because they don't really have to set him up anymore. At the very beginning of the film, they do a lot of really good setup with this. Like I said, the backstory is set up very clear. The planet is dying, Jor-El, they actually even set up Superman 2, where you get to see General Zod, Ursa, and Non be shipped off into the Phantom Zone. You get to see the destruction of the planet. Marlon Brando does a pretty good job for a guy who's basically reading his lines off of the kids' diapers, because he refused to learn his actual script. I mean, the guy was basically ad-libbing for a lot of it as well. But for a guy that didn't want to be in the movie, Marlon Brando does a great job. The supporting cast is spot on. Ned Beatty is Otis. Jackie Cooper is Mr. Perry White. Valerie Perrine is Eva Teschmacher. And when you get right down to it, Terrence Stamp kind of giving you that first and early taste of General Zod. It's all good. There is very little fault I can find with this movie. Even the guy who plays young Clark is pretty damn good. One of the things I really dug about this is Christopher Reeves. This man is just amazing. He is the quintessential Superman. He is the quintessential Clark Kent. Whenever you think about Superman, he's going to be the guy that pops into your head. And even if you don't know his name, you know his face. You know his mannerisms. He is the guy you think about when you think about Superman. And, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better guy for it. I mean, when the guy comes in, I mean, he literally has Clark Kent down to a science. He is the goofy, bumbling, awkward, goody two-shoes, man about street. And you can't help but go, man, dude, Clark. Oh, man, open up that shirt, man, because, God, dude, you're killing me here. It's getting pathetic. But I really dug what they did with it. They did a really good job. And when he comes in as Superman, that's when you start to see the duality. Because Christopher Reeve really sells it to you that these are two completely different personas. I mean, when you look at Clark Kent and then you look at Superman, it's like, no way. No way. Now, and that kind of lends itself to the idea that people can't seem to see that Clark Kent is really Superman. I still think it's dumb, don't get me wrong. My hatred for Superman is well documented and storied. But one of the things I thought was really cool is that, I mean, they at least gave him enough of a difference in personality that it's maybe mildly plausible. You got Margot Kidder coming in as Lois Lane. She does a great job. She actually sells you on the fact that this is a hard hitting, reporting journalist woman who is just really trying to make her name, at the Daily Planet. She is all about business, and she is not she is the damsel in distress, because let's face it, Lois Lane is, aside from Fay Ray and King Kong, she is the quintessential damsel in distress. She is the woman Superman has to save, and she does a good job with it, but she still pulls in that toughness. It's like when she's with Superman, she's the damsel in distress. When she's with Clark Kent, it's like she's the one who's calling the shots. And I thought that was a really cool dynamic they threw in there. You also can't talk about Superman without talking about the main villain in this movie, played by Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor. He is the main guy. When you think about Superman villains, and let's go ahead and point this out, Superman does have a lackluster rogues gallery, but the villain you will always go to, I don't care if it's Superman 1, 2, Smallville, whatever, everybody knows Lex Luthor. He is the guy. He is the man. And the thing is, what makes it really cool is because, like with characters like Batman, who has the Joker as his main arch nemesis, a guy who really can't physically stand up to him, Superman has the same thing. He has Lex Luthor, a guy who one punch would kill him. But Lex Luthor is smart. And that's one of the things that they really hit with Gene Hackman in this movie. His plan straight from the jump is to come in and make prime real estate out of nothing. And his plan, as world domination, maniacal, Cobra Commander, G.I. Joe, crazy as it is, it works. I mean, because you think, man, this guy's kind of fucking nuts. I really loved it. Because with this film, when he comes in, you get to see, especially when Superman shows up, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This guy can jack my plans up. We can't have that. And what he does from that moment forward, he does the only thing that Lex Luthor would typically do in the comics. He researches Superman. He learns everything he can about Superman. He even gets down to the minutia, the things that people would not necessarily look at. And he finds out exactly what it is that can take Superman down. And we all know what that is. Let's not be coy here. We know what kryptonite is. I don't care if you read comic books or not. Going further into that, they take Superman out of commission, and then they get to exact their master plan, setting off this series of earthquakes that's going to basically destroy a lot of the United States and create that prime real estate that Lex Luthor always wanted. What gets really crazy here, and this is where the film takes me out of it a little bit, they pull a move that is probably the most dick move in the history of cinema. And I'm going to go ahead and just spoil this right here, because I'm sorry, this movie came out back in 1978. If you haven't seen this yet, please go, just, I don't even know what to tell you at that point. They take out Lois Lane. She dies. And they pull the most dick move in the history of dick moves. They get, like, Superman's powers are on the whole defined, but in each of the Superman movies, and I'm going to touch on this in each particular Superman movie that I cover, they give him a power that is just nowhere to be found. I mean, it's like a dick out of nowhere. I mean, he basically sees Lois Lane dead. Superman's looking at Lois Lane. He's looking at her corpse, and he's like, he damn near does the Darth Vader from Revenge of the Sith. No! He decides, and without even thinking about it, he hears his father Jor-El's voice, and he's like, I need to fly around the world and reverse the Earth's rotation. That will turn back time. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. As a kid, it seems cool, but when you're older, you think about these things a little bit more, you think about it more realistically, like what we are wont to do here at the Realist. It's oh god, it's infuriating, because he spins around he basically spins the world in its opposite rotation, and that's not going to turn back time. At best, you're going to create a bigger disaster than what Lex Luthor created. So essentially, Superman is our own worst enemy. I'll let it slide, because on the whole, the movie is pretty damn good. It is a perfect superhero movie. It is the original superhero movie in my eyes. It's the movie that most people look back upon and say, alright, look, this is how we make a movie. I mean, there's really not a lot to harp on, except that one thing. And that one thing, honestly, is not enough to make me sway my opinion. As much as I don't like Superman, as much as I hate the idea of Superman, I still can't help but give this movie what it deserves. And that's fan-freaking-tastic. Let me know what you think. Did you like the movie? Did you hate the movie? Are you a huge fan of Superman? Are you as big of a non-Superman fan as I am? Like I said, keep it real with us like we keep it real with you. Let us know what you think. And don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And stay tuned for the next round of content.